Live from the Talking Joe studios,
it's Talking Joe with Chief and Chris. Hey, it's me, the sickly Chief, joined by you,
Christopher McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80 from the Full Force podcast, and Talking Joe, which has now evolved slightly.
Yeah, episode 54. We have completed the Marvel run of 155 Real American Heroes plus 28 special missions
Congratulations.
plus 4 yearbooks. And this week we are covering
each other in
G.I. Joe and Transformers, but we'll come to that when we come to that.
Stop saying come.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. I have been watching far too much television recently. So
Excellent.
I know I kind of put loads of stuff on in the background while I'm working on stuff, and I've kind of worked out a way to multitask where I can consume huge amounts of television and at the same time get stuff done. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not. And now I think... So I hadn't seen the TV series Dexter before. And I thought, well, I've watched literally everything else on Netflix. I might as well see what it's like. Yep. I'm already into season 6. And that was about, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago.
I'm pretty sure last week when we were discussing Mandalorian, I like the fact that it's only one episode a week and you don't binge it.
No. But I do like that. And it was because I'd already said to you, I'd conditioned myself to binge. Right. In that conversation, I even said, I'm guilty of that. I binge stuff. So The Mandalorian is, what I like about it is the fact that it stops me from doing that. And it kind of makes me, really enjoy it. It's like eating. I eat so fast that I don't enjoy anything. So when I slow that down, it's like, oh yeah, this tastes like things. So it's just like that. I'm starting to taste television with The Mandalorian.
Yeah. So how are you finding Dexter?
It's all right. I think I'm watching it now more because it's just a habit thing in the background. It's not, it's sometimes it's really cool. I mean, there was an amazing twist on one of the episodes I just watched. But other than that, it's very formulaic. It's, it's all right. I don't know, it's all right. And I've just watched 6 seasons of it in a row.
Yes.
Isn't that crazy? What have you seen it before?
Maybe watched episode 1 possibly around the time it came out and did not go any further.
Yeah, fair enough.
So there you go.
Fair enough. I've also been watching other things too.
Yeah.
And that's somehow it's just everything. I've literally, since getting Disney Plus, I have rinsed through the entire X-Men cartoon, blooming DuckTales, just everything, man. There's so much, and all the movies. I went like a Marvel binge of films. I even started watching. What's interesting is I started watching all the Star Wars movies I enjoy on there too, and then realised Solo isn't even on there yet, and it's because it's still on Netflix. And I'm like, wow. That is some weird. They own that outright, yet there it is on Netflix and not even on their own platform. Seems weird, but anyway.
Yep.
Anyway, what have you been up to, mate?
Getting ill again is what I've mainly been up to.
You are made of AIDS.
So I was ill on the last pod, and then over the weekend I got better. Went back to work on Monday and then came down Monday evening with kind of lurgy again, and I've had it all day today. So
you sound very, very sick right now on this recording.
I am definitely putting on some Barry White. I feel like Barry White at the moment.
We got it together, didn't we? We've definitely got our thing together, don't we, baby?
Not because he was ill, but because he had a deep voice.
Oh, I thought because you're also a walrus of love.
He was the walrus of love, and his band was called Barry White with Love Unlimited and the Love Unlimited Orchestra.
Yeah.
He's got double Love Unlimited.
Lots of love going on there.
Yeah, lots of love going on there. But apart from that, I have been doing some retro gaming. I'm retro gaming, that's what I'm playing. So don't be shaming, because then you'll be failing. Nintendo Power, not in the shower. Sega for the ages, Ghouls and Ghost Rages. Atari Jaguar, how did it get that far? Sony PlayStations gave me sensations. And now I have to go and do some retro gaming. I said retro gaming. And I'm out.
Yeah,
and I have been cracking on again with Comic Zone. which is one of the hardest games I've ever played.
Coming soon.
Yeah.
Oh, coming soon.
I managed to get to episode 4 today of 6.
Nice.
I think.
Nice.
Yeah, started, so I'm 50% through, and it's so hard. And I'm playing it on the Mega Drive Mini, which allows you to save your game status. But without that, I'm saying I wouldn't even got past level 1, episode 1. So doing that. And the only other thing I did, it's not retro gaming, but I did buy an Xbox One S digital only console.
Nice.
In the Black Friday sale. And that was, I bought it from Microsoft Germany for £85 new, and I may well sell it to Mark Seddon, because immediately after purchasing I was like, why have I bought this? I don't even need it. I've got so much other gaming to do and other stuff.
How much are you selling it to him for? £8,000?
Well, yeah, £8,000. So I said, do you want to buy it off me for 85 quid or whatever? And he goes, yeah, I'll probably take it. And now I'm thinking, well, I might not sell it now, actually.
The Seddons have been in touch with me to buy all my 90s neon toy collection off me. Which is weird, because I thought they hated it, but they clearly love it. Everyone listen to me when I say the Seddons love the 90s neon and all the crazy action figures out there. That's for you, Seddons.
So I may well sell it to him. I might not. I haven't decided yet. But apart from that, yes, not been doing much.
On the retro gaming front,
oh yeah,
while
have
we
you done
kind
any?
of mentioned that, no, but I got a message from Jim Godfrey, who listens to the show, an amazing customizer and a lovely fella.
Yep.
He said, he just out of the blue was like, it sounded on the poddy like you might have given up on Contra 3, right? Well, don't, Christopher. Persist. It's one of those classic games that genuinely rewards you sticking with it, chipping away and learning how to defeat the bastard. Love it. We hit stage 6 this weekend. Glorious moment. Climb back on board with us, lad. Thumbs up. So I'm going to climb back on board with Jim and try and defeat this of a level. Not a game, just that first level.
Yeah. Good words of wisdom, Jim. Let's kick this boy's into action. So
you also said figuring out what the shoulder buttons did was life-changing in a Contra sense.
You didn't even know there were shoulder buttons.
There were what?
Yeah, exactly. But I do want to move on to beverage for the show, because I think it's going to help me for the rest of the show.
Blah 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 blah.
Beverage for the show. Do. Beverage for the show. Do. Now I am gonna go do and drink my beverage for the show.
So I have got a innocent super smoothie Invigorate with kiwi, lime, matcha, cucumber, flaxseed, vitamins B3, B2, B6 and C and E.
Blimey.
And I'm going to shake that mother up.
That's a lot of bees.
Yeah, I had to sneak it past the missus to get it in the house. It's plastic. Actually, on that word of plastic, I watched 2 documentaries as well. This is another thing I did, actually. I watched 2 documentaries. One was called Plastic Ocean.
Yeah.
On Netflix.
What was that about?
And that basically has reaffirmed my view that, okay, yes, plastic is bad, but it's actually extrapolated out even more to, like, you know, the planet will be dead in about 100 years.
Totally.
You know, they were finding dead birds on the beach, cutting the bird open. She put her hand into its stomach, and her hand was just full of, all it was plastic in her hand.
That's so messed up.
And you know, pretty much every fish in the ocean has plastic in it, which then goes into our bodies, and that affects hormones, especially in young children, and a lot of estrogen is deposited. And
you go on about me being a vegan.
And
then
I watched. Ben said he watched Game Changers.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And I watched it, and I think I'm going to go vegan.
Good man.
There you go. So I've got a lot of fish still to eat in the freezer, which is from the Billingsgate Fish Market.
Oh yeah, full of plastic though. Full of plastic.
So I'll eat all that plastic fish first, and then I think I might try and go vegan.
That should probably level your hormones out, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Have you tried this drink yet? Or
So yeah, let's get on with it. Let's get me feeling better. It's cold, straight out of the fridge.
Good.
750 mils. Yeah, that's well tasty.
Nice.
I feel better already. I feel about 2% better already. I'll tell you what's in it. Ingredients. 4 pressed grapes. No, I've read that wrong. I've got my contact lens in instead of my glasses, and I can't actually read properly. Let's try that again. 4 pressed apples. I don't know how I read grapes as apples.
Yeah, that's really, really weird.
Contact lenses. 4 pressed apples, 1 mashed banana, 20 pressed white grapes, half a crushed mango, half a crushed kiwi, and some squeezed cucumber juice. There you go.
I wonder what difference squeezed and crushed really do. It's still getting the same juice out of it, aren't you?
Yeah, that's really nice.
Cool.
What have you got?
Well, you'll be happy to know that it's a
Glass
glassy,
bottle, baby.
It's a glassy with a metal top.
Yes.
Now, this has a bit of a story towards it. Now, my wife mentioned the other day, she said, "Have you ever had butter cake?" And I was like, "What the fnuck is butter cake? I've never heard of it in my life." She made some, the vegan version, for over Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it was the most amazing thing I've ever eaten.
Okay, so interrupt. Get your missus to write down some good quality vegan recipes.
Sure.
So when you fling yourself over to the UK, you can pass them on to me.
100%, we'll do that.
Okay, continue.
Now, so she said, like, you've got to try this butter cake. I'm like, whatever, sounds like a ridiculous American thing. And it was, but it's also delicious. And it's kind of like, it's really hard to describe, but like if you imagine like a soft cake-like baked structure in a pan, in like a tin, that's then cut into kind of squares, so you kind of like get these little cubes basically of the cake. Obviously you can cut it in whatever shape you want, but this is how I had it. And then it's kind of got these layers of like really thick, gooey, tasty, sugary, kind of sweet layers of goo is all I can describe it as. It's really weird, but my God, it tastes incredible. Anyway, so I've been kind of getting through that and putting on about 1,000 tons in weight.
Yeah.
And with that said, my folks-in-law were out shopping the other day and they picked me up this drink, which is from XL. It's called Gooey Butter Cake Soda.
What the deuce?
Exactly. 12 fluid ounces, 354 mils, 170 calories per bottle. Which is like my daily
calories per bottle. That's not much.
It's my intake for the day. I literally just bust the top open with a bottle opener. I'm not sure if you heard that. Let's give this a pop. Here we go. Yeah. You know what that is? Exactly what that is.
Liquid butter cake.
It's what we used to get delivered when we were kids. What's it called? Something soda.
Cream soda.
Cream soda. It is basically a slightly sweeter cream soda. Believe that if you can.
Oh, I do believe it.
It's
that
yummy though.
Good.
It's really yummy.
Good stuff. I never give it a ranking. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10.
Cream soda, mate. I haven't had it for ages. I'm going to give it a nostalgic 8.5.
Yeah, nice. Always have to go one better, don't you? Or half better. That's fine.
Or worse, if I'm feeling like a dick.
It's time to talk about G.I. Joe comics with added Transformers.
G.I. Joe and Transformers comics, yeah?
Yeah, that's it, yeah. Because it's G.I. Joe and Transformer comic talk.
Comic talk, oh, comic talk. Larry Hama writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them, whoa. Comic talk, oh, comic talk. Larry Hama writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them, whoa.
Right, on the slate this week then is the 4-issue miniseries, as we've already mentioned, G.I. Joe and the Transformers. And this is from January 1987.
Correct.
So just to put this in time frame, this was around issue 50, I think, on G.I. Joe Real American Hero, and around issue 23 on the US Transformers.
Correct.
I have strong feelings about this miniseries. Basically, I'll tell you up front now, my strong feelings about this are, it's probably going to go into my top 20 all-time G.I. Joe stories.
You are kidding me.
No, it's incredible.
Unreal. Okay.
Anyway,
we've got
we'll come to that later.
differing opinions, which is
come
good.
to that.
It's good.
I tweeted, or I not tweeted. I WhatsApped the Seddon boys earlier as I was reading this. And I was like, I'm reading this. This is amazing. And Mark Seddon tweeted, messaged back saying I'd probably give it a 3 out of 10.
Amazing.
So anyway,
I'm not against it, but we'll get to that. Okay, let's
look at the covers. Let's look at the covers quickly.
Bumblebee
getting blasted. Great cover. Love
really
it.
Harsh.
Yeah, he's getting nailed by the Joes and all the tanks.
Hawk looks really cool on there, and he's got like a blue jacket. So weird.
Hawk looks cool. Issue 2. This is the Decepticons watching on a kind of video screen.
Mm-hmm. Is it Dirge, Bombshell, Ravage, and Shockwave?
Possibly. I'm not. I do like Transformers, and I have all of the IDW Transformers comics, but I'm not
let's just say
of
one
the Marvel
of the
version.
heads,
I'm not. You're better at Transformers than me, effectively.
Let's just say one of the cone heads and one of the Insecticons.
Yeah,
but
that's fine. Yeah. They're watching some G.I. Joe Cobra battle in the background. It's okay. It's quite.
I like how the Sarge looks like he's wearing looks like he's wearing his pajamas.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
You could be mistaken for that, not thinking that was Sergeant Slammer Slaughter, but
Yep.
it is. Mutt, Crankcase, and Beachhead are on there as well.
Yep.
Next.
Issue 3, Shockwave looks on from the background with some other...
I quite like this one.
Transformers, kind of alternates a Joe, a Transformer, a Joe, a Transformer.
Yeah, it's like lots of little heads, and Shockwave's hands are in there as the Earth is getting obliterated.
Yeah.
I really like it. I think
Yeah.
it's really cool.
And number 4, this is kind of everyone's just standing around, not really doing much.
Yeah, just the
It's kind of
groupings. It's a
just a
bit
grouping
generic.
shot.
I'm not a fan of this one.
I think they were all by Herb Trimpe, the cover. Oh, no, that was actually by Al Milgram, that cover.
Okay.
Maybe they're all by Al Milgram. But the writer for this series is Michael Higgins, who I've not heard of before. Herb Trimpe is the artist. Vince Coletta's on inks and Joe Rosen's on letters, Neil Yomtov's on colours. So, do you want to give us the breakdown of what's happening in this story?
Mm-hmm. So, the Joes have been put in charge of security around Project Alpha, which is like this Project Power Station Alpha, which is this new, like, world-changing thing that, is being developed, I should say, and it's being revealed today. Now, there's a woman called Barbara, I forget her surname.
Larkin.
Thank you. Barbara Larkin, or Barkin, Helen Barkin, as I'm going to call her from now on.
Barbs, as I call her.
Babs, big old Barbs. She is like basically kind of like the forerunner for this. She's been pushing it all the way through to get kind of created, and now the Joes are basically put in place to kind of protect it.
So I've got a lot of questions. My first one here is, this Power Station Alpha thing, what's it actually going to do
Well,
for the benefit of mankind?
They say that it's something to do with like the power that it generates is going to kind of render a lot of things like unnecessary in the future.
Yeah,
that's basically it's not like a great explanation, but that's all you can really glean from what it is.
And then effectively, the Decepticons catch wind of this, and they want in on this power source thing.
Yeah, a couple of things I should say actually is when these issues were kind of coming out, there was a lot going on in the G.I. Joe and Transformers comics at the time. Yep. And something happens in one of the issues where Prime basically everyone explains, they kind of say, oh, Prime has been killed by an assassin.
Yeah, I'm like, when did that happen?
And then we're going to have a funeral. In the comics, he's killed, right? In the regular run.
Not in these comics, in the Transformers run.
Yeah, exactly. In the regular Transformers comic. Yeah. So obviously, rather than go into lots of detail... Sorry. Rather than go into lots of detail, that I figured they just, expected people were reading the Transformers comics as well. Yeah. Along with this one.
That was interesting because there was no... If you were reading G.I. Joe Real American Hero, you'd have no idea this crossover really existed. There was nothing in this crossover that referenced...
You're correct. The reason being is that it wasn't connected. This was supposed to be like a separate... this was basically in the Transformers universe, but not in the G.I. Joe universe. That's how they were approaching it. They were keeping G.I. Joe almost in like a what-if scenario, if you know what I mean.
However, they do reference, like they say, when Cobra Commander died, issue 55. So they do reference Real American Hero.
I suppose it's referenced in that sense, but there's other than... Oh, yeah, I suppose that's right. But it's not like...
And
it's
they
hard
reference
to explain.
Also when Mindbender confronts Snake Eyes, he says, oh, he's not going to like me because I put him through that brainwave scanner. And then at the bottom it says Yearbook 3.
Yeah, but this is not part of the G.I. Joe continuity at the time. Right. Yeah. So it's really, I think, explanations for those little points that are in there. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get what you're saying.
You can still have it... You can still have it referencing things, even if it's not really part of that continuity. It's almost like they were picking and choosing what they wanted to include, part of the continuity. That kind of stuff. I suppose what I'm getting at is that initially, when it was developed and written and put out there was no real intention for it to be connected to the Joe universe.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
So it's kind of like a what if for G.I. Joe, but it's kind of literally. Yep. Solid in the Transformers continuity.
And the whole thing, like you kind of summed it up nicely there, the whole thing just revolves around this Power Station Alpha. Mm-hmm. And from then on, it just goes back crazy. And one of the reasons, I'm not going to go into too much detail, one of the reasons why I say I love it so much is and this might be different if I'd have read these in a different order. Now, I hadn't read this before today, but I have read the Tom Scioli 13-issue G.I. Joe versus Transformers, which came out like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And that I love that. That's in my top 20 comics of all time, just all comics.
Cool.
And this felt very, very much like that, in that it's just off-the-wall craziness. This doesn't go to the crazy levels that Tom Scioli's series does, which is proper back crazy. I'd be amazed if he didn't get a lot of ideas or inspiration from this particular series.
Oh, totally, yeah. His style is very reminiscent of the older comics. He's got that kind of Kirby, Trimpy vibe going on. But also, I loved the idea of that, like his idea of, being playing like a kid playing with the toys was like his idea of what was going on in those comics. And I always thought that was quite a cool angle to kind of come out with the comics. And I really enjoyed his GoBots series as well.
Yeah.
The last couple of issues were a bit disappointing, but like it started really strong, that GoBots series. Anyway, yes.
I think for me the main difference is if I'd have read this first before reading that Tom Scioli book, I probably wouldn't have liked this as much.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I think another difference is Tom Scioli's book is intentionally crazy, and I don't want to say bad, but intentionally kind of stylistic and intentionally hammy dialogue.
Yeah.
To the point where it's so like that, it's really, really clever and good. Whereas this, I think, is unintentionally bad, but so bad that it makes it so good.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
Anyway, let's talk about what happens. Or some of the stuff
the
that
power
happens.
station, I just want to kind of read this out because this kind of like covers it nicely if people are confused about what Power Station Alpha is. But it's basically a United States government-funded project. It's a prototype for a revolutionary new kind of solar nuclear power station that is designed to solve the nation's energy shortages, which is kind of what I said, but very basic. So there you go. That's basically what it is.
Right. First couple of things I want to talk about, actually it's not the first at all, we've been talking about 5 minutes, is page 1, Hawk's driving in a car, and he drives past 3 dreadnoughts and does nothing.
Yeah, noticed that.
Okay, anyway. Then, next couple of pages, or page 2, Hawk is immediately flirting with this woman.
Oh, God.
And I was like...
He's got it bad for barbs.
I was like, what is happening here? Am I reading something wrong into this, or is this the writer's style? And later on, this comes into some of the best bits of this comic, is Hawk's lovelornness and just his crestfallen nature when, he finds out that Barbara is actually a secret double agent and all that kind of stuff. And, it's just phenomenal stuff.
Can I say, I know we're jumping ahead a little bit here, but it's related to Barbara. I enjoyed her character. I thought it was kind of a really cool twist, spoiler alert, when it's revealed that she's in cahoots with Cobra. And I really loved that.
Didn't see
part.
that coming.
I didn't either. And the problem was I did see it coming as soon as I got to the page, because annoyingly they don't put the reveal on the other side of the page, which has always bugged me in comics. Because if I'm looking at a page, my periphery, I'll be able to pick information up, and you can spot the Baroness a mile away, even if you're forcing yourself not to look at it. You can see the Baroness at the bottom of the page. So it's like, I was really annoyed that wasn't more impactful on me. As I got to that page, I'm like, oh, she's in cahoots with Cobra, before I'd read it. So it was kind of like annoying to me that wasn't on the other side of the page. I think the best reveals are always when you turn the page for me in comics.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I suppose it depends on, like you say, layout is key.
Big time.
I like the sort of definition of characters here early on. Yeah. Optimus Prime is he's almost sweet talking a fragile Bumblebee.
Yeah.
By saying, you're our best.
This will be our little secret.
Yeah, now, Bumblebee, we consider you our master of stealth. Only you have the ability to make yourself unseen.
He's doing that thing that all good bosses do, where you go into the office to, because you have a grievance about something, and you go out not having any solution to the grievance, but you feel better about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what he's done here. I've had a few bosses like that in my time.
Dreadnoks love cutting up chain link fences. They did it almost every issue in G.I. Joe Real American Hero. They're doing it again here.
Well, it's their biggest enemy, the chain link fence.
And also, this is a forerunner, because I think it's around issue 79 at a guess, where Buzzer cuts up Junkyard. Well, this is predating that by 2 years, and this time it's Torch trying to put the cahoots on Junkyard. Yeah.
From the looks of it, your butts are here to be cooked. Ha ha.
Yeah.
Ralph.
Love it.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Talking about those Optimus Prime and the kind of distinct personalities there, I like the fact that, I guess this was going on, I haven't read those early Transformers issues, but Megatron's talking to Dirge and Bombshell, And Dirge says, "What is it you desire, mighty Megatron?" And Bombshell's like, "Yeah, what do you want?"
I know. Yeah.
So,
what do you want? Yes,
Yeah,
you can really hear it, can't you, when he says it?
That's quality. That's quality. And later on, Megatron disappears as well. Was he killed as well when Prime was killed?
Yeah, they're both taken out during this run.
I think they reference issue 26, possibly, of Transformers when that happens.
Yeah.
When Optimus Prime dies, but there's no mention of Megatron. It's just that suddenly Shockwave takes over. And so I'd kind of surmised that he'd bit the big one with Prime.
I do have to say that I think the Power Station Alpha's design is a bit hokey. And when it transforms into that ship, it just looks like part of, like, you know, when you kind of like, you have a toy that you've played with for years and parts of it have broken off and are missing. It's what it looks like to me. Just pieces sticking out all over the place.
Yeah, so it's an actual land-based power station, and then it transforms as that's its mode, if you will. And nothing's happened to it yet from the Decepticons or anything, but because they do enhance it later on. But it's actually built to be almost like a plane as well as a land-based power station.
Well, a shuttle, because it has to. That's where it goes. That's how it does the whole nuclear solar power situation.
Yeah,
you know, it kind of flies out into the orbit and
out
into orbit and does
that.
They
also mention that Silverbolt, one of the aerial bots, is actually afraid of heights.
I love that about him. Yeah, it's so funny. Cool. I have to admit, though, when we first see Superion, well, not the first time we see Superion, but in issue 2, the splash page drawing of Superion is really poor.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
It's just so... I mean, that is like the toy. It's not even as good as the toy.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Confused here. I'm just going back through the issues, just trying to work out what happened. There's a big subplot with a kid who gets shot up by Bombshell, and it's a big subplot, and we see him in the hospital, and they're pulling something out of his brain, and then he's
really
even towards the end of the last pages of issue 4. I was like, this is crazy. I love it. It's just craziness that made no sense to me at all.
Yeah, but it's a subplot just because you're following him to see if he's going to be all right. That's the only reason.
But why did Bombshell shoot him?
It affects Bombshell, doesn't it?
Yeah, why did he shoot him, though?
Why does he shoot him? Or what do you mean, why does he implant that thing in his head?
Yeah.
He does it to control him.
Why does he want to control the kid?
To distract... when he first does it, it's to distract the Autobots, a.k.a. Bumblebee.
Right.
To react to save the child, because he's walking in front of the of the tracks. So Bumblebee then has to kind of react, and then it basically creates the diversion for the Decepticons to get in and steal the Power Station Alpha.
Right. And then I guess you probably would, but we know the Autobots are heroes. We know G.I. Joes are heroes. But when Bumblebee transforms, he saved the kid, he's revealed himself. Hawk is basically blow this mother out the sky. Yeah,
this one of the things I really didn't like about it.
It comes off as brutal.
Yeah, I thought that it was a weird response, and they gave so much time in responding in between him revealing himself and them actually shooting, that it really just meant that they weren't really... Like, it just doesn't seem like the right way to go in any situation. Like, I could have understood it if they'd have immediately opened fire. Like, immediately. Like, just no response, you know, like they're just reacting to the situation. But the fact they give him, like, time enough to kind of, you know, say a few things, and they're, like, back and forth with it. I thought, no, just... if you're going to shoot the guy, but don't do this, because this is weird.
He's already saved the kid.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. They're kind of like, what has he done to the child? It's like, no, he just literally got him out of the way. You can obviously see that.
Yeah, and like you said, Superion has been dispatched to give Bumblebee some backup.
Yeah.
But then he just bugs out straight away because he gets his message. Something has happened, something horrible. Our leader, Optimus Prime, has been assassinated. All Autobots are ordered to return to the Ark at once. And then he just bugs out.
So they're hoping that, obviously, to be honest, when I read this for the first time, I thought it was a ruse and that Prime was going to appear at some point down the line, and it was all a plan to, you know, maybe kind of derail the Decepticons or bring them into try and lure them into an attack or something. And then I realised, oh no, he actually died in the comics around this time. So yeah.
And then you get amazing, you get some Hawk goodness. Turn the page, and there's Hawk. Meanwhile, and he's kissing face.
Oh, man.
What was that? Well, either you're the world's greatest kisser, or something's happened to Power Station Alpha. It can only be one of two things possible. Amazing.
I like that when he's just like, she opens the door and he's like, well, what a pleasant surprise. The pleasure is all mine, Senator Larkin.
Yeah.
Barbara, and to what do I owe this honour? I thought you might be disturbed by what's been going on. I thought maybe I feel so much better now that you're here. Come in. Perhaps you would like a drink. Perhaps. Click. And then it's just like friggin' knocking hawk boots.
Yeah, loves it. Amazing.
He's absolutely smash bang walloping. What a video.
Crash! Bang! Wallop! What a video!
I think this is one of the reasons I like it. It's so out of character and so non-G.I. Joe-ish that has, for some reason, has a real appeal to me. It's just, I don't know. It's like a comedy. It's comedy gold, this series, to me.
We've never seen Hawk getting his end away before, right? No. 1. 2, he's never really been like this personality-wise. So when, not womanizer, but like, flirtatious, and ladies then going into the... I would say it's not really ladies' man, is it? He's just, obviously, they've struck up this relationship. It's quite, that can happen. But there's that one moment where he's kind of constantly going over his decisions and lamenting the fact that, he's possibly causing this, like the world's almost going to end and it's his fault. And I'm thinking, that's not Hawk. I have this page bookmarked, and this is later on in issue 3. I've got it now. I'm going to post it up. He's lying on the sofa, got his shoes off. Yeah. And he's got a glass of scotch in his hand. Yeah. Why did this have to happen? Everything seemed to be going so well. I guess it was too good to be true. Barbara, how could you do this to me? Wherever you are, and the phone rings. Whoever you are, leave me alone. Oh, what's the use? And he answers, hello? Yes? Uh-huh, I see. So, we nearly destroyed one of the first alien intelligences we've ever encountered. An alien who was only trying to save a young boy's life and warn us of the attempt to abduct Alpha. And all because of my shoot first, ask questions later mentality. Send a full force to the location of the Ark. Full force!
That black rock supplied. Be prepared to attack on my command. Then back to thought bubble. Ironic, isn't it? An order of force. Must I always act as a soldier first? That's just the way this whole fiasco began. Amazing.
There's more.
Oh, you want me to...
Yeah, keep going.
If not for my hasty attack on Bumblebee, I wouldn't have known about the Decepticons, and the station wouldn't be in the hands of our enemies. But I don't even know who my enemies are anymore. Oh, Barbara.
Oh, Barbara.
Incredible! If that's not one of your favourite pages in all of comicsdom, then there's something wrong with you.
That's straight out of The Sun, when you got those like, little comic strips.
Yeah.
The kind of little love comic strips. No, I think it's cool, but it's just, it doesn't feel like Hawk to me.
No.
I feel like Hawk is way more on point than this kind of all this lamenting love and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, so it's weird for me. It's like an odd feeling. I think I'd probably expect this more from, say, Duke, or maybe even I wouldn't say Flint, but the womanizing aspect I'd expect from Flint.
Yep.
But I don't know, just the kind of like the second guessing, and even then Duke probably wouldn't do that either.
No, but like you said, I'm happy for this to be an alternate universe version of G.I. Joe, where they can just be completely out of character. That's more than perfect for me.
Did you notice that they used almost the same panel, like, almost identical for when Dr. Mindbender wakes up with no shirt on, in that crossover we looked at not too long ago in the regular comic, when Dr. Mindbender is like brought back to life, and he wakes up in that room, and it's basically the same panel. Like, it's a very similar thing. It's like they almost like copied it again, like, homaged it a little bit. Right,
my next question is, as you're on Mindbender, he's got some crazy helmet that lets him control Power Station Alpha.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
You've said everything that needs to be said about that. Yeah.
He puts a helmet on, and then he can literally
concentrate
and drive it wherever he wants, fly it wherever he wants.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah, love it. Just that seems to be a running theme here of, we need something to happen, let's just say we've got a device that makes it happen.
Exactly.
Serpentor is flying an aircraft later, and he wants to disable one of the Decepticons, and he's like, I'm just going to push this button, which is going to disable your aircraft, with no real explanation of what's happening.
There you go.
Yeah. We've got more pages of this kid that no one knows why he's there or what's happening with him.
I know, it's just like really just to make sure he lives or not, isn't it?
Yeah, but then the Decepticons, so moving the story forward, the Decepticons, they get control. They've now captured... or Cobra's captured Power Station Alpha, Cobra captured it, some Decepticons go to Cobra to try and sort of strike a deal with them, join forces. They want this thing.
As if anyone would, as if they'd ever need to strike a deal. They just go in there and take it back, surely.
Yeah. And Mindbender's got some kind of thing. He's talking to Dirge, and he's got his hand behind his back, and he opens his hand, and some little bug flies out of his hand onto Dirge, and it happens to just be a listening device,
Yeah.
I think. Anyway, more scenes. This kid with the brain scan. They're going to pull something out of his head. No one cares about him, let's be honest.
I must admit, what I've noticed a lot all the way through is there's some interesting colour choices in this one. Like, did you also know? Did you say that Hawk was smoking a fag as well at the time?
No, was he?
Yeah, he's still in the first panel where he's drinking that. When he's kind of drinking, whatever it is he's drinking, and sitting up with his socks on, you can see he's got a fag in his left hand. Isn't that amazing? And then obviously puts it out at the end on when he hangs the phone up. It's a beautiful shot, man. It's like something out of Mad Men.
Oh yeah, he has. Yeah, of course he has. Yeah, in his left hand. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, brilliant.
Oh yeah, and then when he puts the phone down, there's a couple of butts in the ashtray.
Yeah, massive smoker. I never pegged him for a smoker, but now like it kind of matches in.
I like the fact that at the beginning of the next issue we get a recap of what the real danger is here, because it says scenario: the end of the world. Near the western coastlines of this continent, Alpha releases its intense waves, causing great disturbances along sensitive fault lines. Deep beneath the globe's massive oceans, Alpha bores beneath the silty floors toward molten interior magma levels. In Earth's frozen Arctic regions, Alpha concentrates and releases its potent radiation, melting the polar ice caps. And then basically, this is Shockwave translator, or, commenting. Once unleashed, its energies will be focused through Alpha and beamed across the void of space. And basically, they're going to transform all this energy back to Cybertron somehow and use it to rule Cybertron.
Yeah, very weak.
And whilst actually destroying the planet. And they've got this Power Station Alpha now, and they've started modding it, and they put a big drill head on the front of it, don't they, so they can drill under the ground.
Yeah.
Interesting. I sent you a picture of this. There's an interesting panel here of a plane. Yeah, it looks like a bat plane almost. It's just the cut of the wing.
It really reminds me of the Cobra La planes in the movie.
Yes,
kind of similar shapes. But yeah, I like it. I think it's quite cool looking. It's almost very reminiscent of one of the old Cobra airships in the cartoon as well, especially from the side.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't think it appears anywhere else, does it? It doesn't appear in any G.I. Joe comics.
I mean, it's one of those things that I recognise, but I think I just recognise it from this comic. Like, it might have crept in to some other comics down the road, but yeah, it's down the road. We'll see you down the road.
Yeah. Shockwave says here, I want you to go and attack the hated Autobots and return the solar generator that we need in order to make some necessary adjustments. Is that something from the Transformers comic?
Possibly.
The solar generator? Because they've not mentioned it in this comic so far.
I don't know it well enough to... Anyway, I'd have to read it.
Possibly just making stuff up on the fly, which is quality.
Omega Supreme getting involved as well.
Omega Supreme getting involved. Good stuff there. And then we get to the bit where you mentioned Babs Larkin is off, and she is meeting someone who you only see her shoulder, her hand, and then, like you mentioned, the problem is on the next page you actually see it as Baroness.
I really wish they'd managed to put it on the different page.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that the shadowy reflection type thing on the guy behind the tree
looks like he's Zartan.
Oh well, I was going to say Firefly, but
okay, yeah.
I see what you're thinking.
The camo does look like Firefly. Yeah. When she sits down, she's gone to the Cavalier, whether that be a restaurant or a cafe, something. She's gone there, and the mystery guest says, "Won't you join me in some tea, Barbara dear?" And Barbara said, "Absolute, on the rocks, if you'd be so kind. Better make it a double."
A little frazzled around the edges, are we?
yeah, brilliant. Hard drinking in the afternoon.
Well, she's got a lot of stress on right now, and she's probably just been absolutely bone-gibboned by General Hawk.
But when Hawk does go and knock on her door, she's like, "Oh, Hawk, what a pleasant surprise." She's like, "He's back for more. What's wrong? What is it?" And then he gives it to her, doesn't he? He's like, "We saw you with the Baroness," and she starts crying.
What is that
and then
panel?
Hawk says, "I trusted you. I loved you."
You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you.
What is that panel?
Where he's
his
one eye
face
winking.
when he's winking at her. It's so weird.
Amazing.
I don't understand that particular close-up, in all honesty. Like, I don't get it. But anyway,
And then later we get him on the sofa. But yeah, he's teary-eyed and
it's just a love story for Hawk, isn't it?
It is. Basically, the whole story is a love story between the two. And that's what kind of reminded me of the Tom Scioli stuff. It's brilliant. It's so batshit crazy. It's brilliant.
So earlier in the comic, we're given Sky Strikers that are basically green, but I think it's more laziness than incorrect colouring. I think they coloured pretty much all of the Joe planes in green, including the Tomahawk. And all of the Cobra jets like blue, just from a distance. I think they didn't really give a shit. But then you get to the Televiper, and he's literally got all the blue gear on top, the helmet, the backpack, and then he's wearing green clothes.
Yeah.
So, fashion, right?
Armani, Prada, Versace too. Joe's changed their outfits from black to blue. Duke and Hawk, look but don't gawk. Changing their kit, whoa, is that legit? Swapping camo jackets, headgear and boots. It's now neon colours and funky spacesuits. Sci-fi stalker and even roadblocks. While Bill, Flint and Mutt gave me a shot. So go take a walk if clothes aren't your passion. Cause it's comic book talk and lovely G.I. Joe fashion. Don't we get Blaster in green as well? Green and yellow or something?
Yeah, he's got all this really... Yeah, it's almost like he's in like a faded colour scheme when you see him at times. And it kind of looks very like a tint of green, doesn't it, sometimes? Almost to insinuate that he's in the background as opposed to in the foreground.
Yeah, you mentioned Omega Supreme. He comes off looking like a right bum because all these Cobras and a couple of Decepticons are attacking the Autobots and Omega Supreme. And then Serpentor ends up, here we go, here's the button. Perfect, you've played right into my hands. All I have to do is push this switch to jam your frequencies. The enormous build-up of your own energies will do the rest. And then Dirge, what's this? I tried to fire, but nothing happened. It blows up. And then, even though all the other Cobras are attacking Omega Supreme, Serpentor says, attention Autobots, as you see, we have eliminated your Decepticon enemy. We represent the Cobra Nation and we mean you no harm. And then we come in peace and offer friendship. And Omega Supreme's like, well, you've got a funny way of showing it. Nevertheless, the Autobots will not fire upon you. So you have no fear. And so he's very easily convinced, Omega Supreme, that all of a sudden, Cobra, these guys are all right. Even though they were attacking me a minute ago, because he shot down a Decepticon, he's okay.
Does the helmet change, by the way, that Dr. Mindbender uses?
Yes, unless it's a different one, because you are correct. Later on, he puts another helmet on and it is... Oh, there's
completely different, isn't it?
Yeah, completely different.
Anyway, enough of that, yeah. Sorry, carry on.
Then there's some bombshell bits where the professor is prodding something. Is that the thing that came out of the kid's head?
Yeah.
He's prodding it with a scalpel, and Bombshell is actually transforming thousands of miles away.
Yeah, it's having a real effect on him, isn't it, basically?
I don't know. That seems strange to have
shot
off a part of yourself.
That's going to be that influential to you as a transformer. Yeah, that was an odd thing.
Yeah, but anyway, this Power Station Alpha, it's now been decided that it needs to be destroyed by the US government because they outline some things here that's once it releases its dangerous energies, millions will perish, great cities are levelled, great nations will be swept into the seas, the sky will erupt in pillars of flame, planet Earth will die. Oh, that's what Shockwave's saying, actually, but yeah. So, but the United Nations or the US government know that as well, so they're setting out a plan to destroy it.
Yep, obviously. And then we get... I must admit, there's one splash page coming up in the last issue, which I really enjoyed, and that was all of the jets and the planes flying into or over that island, where it says the Decepticons will have plenty to keep themselves busy at their home base of operations. The combined forces, G.I. Joe, Cobra, and the Autobot Transformers. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, that's a nice one. So now we've got a big team up, and we've got Autobots, G.I. Joe, and Cobra, all theoretically teaming up against the Decepticons to get this Power Station Alpha thing.
And this is where we see that new helmet of Dr. Mindbender's.
This is where we see Mindbender's shiny helmet. And we also get a bit we get some fashion here, so we might as well have a fashion jingle. Armani, Prada, Versace too. Joe's changed their outfits from black to blue. Duke and Hawk, look but don't gawk. Changing their kit, whoa, is that legit? Swapping camo jackets, headgear and boots. It's now neon colours and funky spacesuits. Sci-fi stalker and even roadblocks. While Bill, Flint and Mutt gave me a shot. So go take a walk if clothes aren't your passion, cause it's comic book talk and lovely G.I. Joe fashion. What we've got is we've actually got Goldbug, which is kind of a fashion redo of Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Because where he got blasted earlier, not dead, everyone, not dead, just in case you're worried.
This is
you haven't read this. He gets rebuilt with some modifications.
They give him a new face.
Yeah.
You have certainly performed beyond the call of duty, Bumblebee. About that, Ratchet, I have a request to make. From now on, I'd like a name with a little more dignity, one that may result in a little more respect. From this day forward, I will be known as Goldbug.
Yeah. And then he wants respect, but 2 pages later, he's driving Baroness and Scarlet, and they're telling him to speed up, and he goes, "Hey, I'm already doing multiples of the speed limit. What if someone notices?" So, yeah, ain't no one giving you respect, chump. He's not even willing to speed. Oh, yeah, I've got that page you were talking about now, that with all the flyover, with all the aircraft. That's quality.
Yeah.
That's where the
Constructicons
come up.
There's some nice aerial battle stuff in there too. Quite like it.
Yeah.
I do feel like it kind of... It doesn't, like... There's not an impactful end, but there's a really crazy, again, twist. So, basically, you know, G.I. Joe and Cobra end up stopping the Decepticons. They basically make it so that when the Power Station Alpha shoots off into orbit, when it hits orbit, it's going to obliterate, it's going to detonate. Yeah. So they're happy that that's been dealt with.
Before you move on, I've got a question here. There's an Autobot here, and I don't know who it is. He's in green, and he says, I think it's who's the dude who flies the X-30 Conquest with the Tash?
Slipstream.
I think that's him, and he says, "How can we? We still have our work cut out for us here." And the Autobot goes, "No, your aid will no longer be necessary." And then he thinks to himself, Alpha was destroyed without the consent of the Autobots. Can we truly trust any of these humans? Because the Autobots didn't want it destroyed, or not. I don't know what the Autobots' motive was.
I don't even know where you are. I'm not even sure. What issue are we in?
I'm the page before the assassination attempt.
Oh, right, okay. Spoiler alert.
I thought that's where you were going to.
That's Blaster, isn't it?
I don't know, whoever it is. But I'm wondering why he's suggesting that the teams destroyed the... But he's like, Alpha was destroyed without the consent of the Autobots. Because they... I don't know what their motives were, the Autobots, for Power Station Alpha. Because he's like, can we really trust these humans?
Well, men, this is it. Spencer Blaster and I have reached an agreement. We speculate that Alpha has been given only limited intelligence and will not be able to detect the approach of a small 2-man or woman team while it is already engaged in its pre-programmed activity. Approaching stealthily in a small vehicle, that team consisting of Scarlet and the Baroness will be able to intercept Alpha when it begins its attack upon the San Andreas Fault, according to schedule. Your team will position explosives directly onto Alpha's frame. The explosives will contain automatic detonators, which we will utilise only at such time as we all agree it is absolutely necessary. There you go.
All right.
That's what it is. They didn't. They did it without the consent. Okay. Exactly. Fine. Exactly what he just said.
Fine.
Yeah.
Exactly what he just said, what you just said, and what I read about 30 minutes ago but forgot.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, fine. So
I
apologise.
to the important bit.
Continue. Yeah.
The bit that I was trying to get to about an hour ago was the fact that, and it even says a few hours later, which is quite ironic.
Yeah.
So Hawk is there to obviously collect Barb, and she's being led out of, obviously I'm guessing like the safe house or wherever she was being held, maybe the courthouse, I don't know, wherever she was. And as she's coming towards the car with these 2 guys around her, you see the this rifle sight. You see the crosshair like kind of going around and like zeroing in on her head, and then crack, and then you see Duke's like screaming face shouting Barbara, and then so like he says, he shot her. Is she? She's dead.
Yeah, and then the guys are taking Hawk into custody because they think Hawk shot her.
That's not Hawk.
No?
I don't think that's just that's someone who shot. That is someone who shot her. That's the guy with the gun that shot her.
Oh, right, you reckon?
Gun's on the floor. He's wearing a hat. Hawk isn't wearing a hat.
All right, okay, yeah, I'll give it to you.
It's not Hawk.
All right, okay. I thought Hawk had been framed up.
No, she's obviously got someone to shoot him, to shoot her. So the
I
Baroness
thought
is there,
the 2 hats were the hats of the people that were standing either side of Bugs.
Oh no, you're right. It is, but that's not. That's definitely not Hawk. 100% not Hawk, because the gun's on the ground. That's the angle. That's where the shot came from. Like
they've run over. They've run over and grabbed him.
Yeah, look at the pavement, the wall, the direction. The shot's coming from directly to her left-hand side. Hawk is in front of her, they're walking towards Hawk.
Okay.
That guy is just some random who the Baroness has got to, to shoot her.
Okay. Anyway, crazy.
Yeah.
Let's just have a murder right at the end.
And then you see Hawk over her grave at the end. But you also see the mom and the kid randomly again.
The kid with the thing he had in his brain.
It's so weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
But Mum, I'm telling you, I saw it. Now, Anthony, I have had enough of this silly talk. How many times have I told you not to exaggerate and go around making up stories? Now that's the final word on this subject. Oh, okay, Mom, forget about it. Oh, Anthony, I was so worried about you, but everything's worked out just fine. You're your old self again. Overactive imagination and all. Everything's back to normal.
Yeah. Amazing. Just 3 panels that weren't required that are fantastic. And then, like you said, Hawk's kind of visiting Babs's grave, laying down a rose and thinking of what might have been, and it ends with Finney.
I actually was wondering about this. Mine one ends with the end, so that's interesting, isn't it? We must have different...
what are you reading them in?
I think I'm reading the G.I. Joe, the Action Force and UK Transformers version.
Okay, I am reading...
Reprinted.
I'm reading Mark Seddon's bind of Action Force Monthly, which I didn't realise he had put that the trade of this series in the back.
Yeah, so I must have
it's got an
whatever we got
cover
in the UK, like the holiday specials or something. I don't know. In any case, I had a look at issue 115 where we saw Hawk's watch with a woman's name on it. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. Don't tell me it's Babs Larkin.
No. So
gutted.
I was really hoping it would say Barbara or Babs or Barbs on it and anything like that. But no, it's Roxy that's written on that. And I was just thinking, I wonder if they were, And then I just had this thought, I better check that to see if it says Barb. No, it doesn't. So Hawk is a bit of a ladies' man. He's got a few on the go by the sounds of things, and they all end up dying.
That's it.
Never get involved with Hawk.
No. That said... What do we think overall, impressions of this, and what's your yo-joage?
So, overall, there are positive aspects to the story, but I don't know, for me, I found it a bit boring and a bit text-heavy for a Joe Transformers crossover. I just thought it was like overly explaining that didn't need explaining. I thought that there was a lot of, I don't know, just it was a bit of a slog for me to get through.
Okay.
And... maybe a lot of it's due to the fact that I didn't have that original. I didn't read it originally, so I don't have any kind of nostalgic connection to it necessarily. So I don't have that extra element to enjoy from it of kind of taking me back to that time. But I was looking at it purely from an adult perspective, and I really did not get into it. No. I felt like it was a little bit weak in terms of the storyline. I thought the whole Project Alpha thing was so it just didn't seem like it was any point to it. Like, okay, so it gets destroyed or whatever, but like as if they wouldn't be able to make that again. Like as if that couldn't be built again. Yeah. Like you have the means, like how it's done. Like it's not like these. I've always found that funny in comics and movies where there's like a MacGuffin, and it's always like. We need to destroy this, otherwise the world is over. Then, who's stopping anyone from making another one? Like, the brainwave scanner constantly gets built again. The Death Star's always getting built again. Who's going to, and that's in, I don't know. So I just found that kind of a bit contrived. I just expected more action. It just moved slowly. And considering the huge amount of subject matter that can be explored with both brands, I just thought it was surprising that we got this really unrelated plot with like a number of weird avenues going down it. Like it didn't feel like G.I. Joe Transformers as much as it felt like Hawk versus Barbara.
Yeah. So what does that equate to?
That's just me. I'll throw in a high 6.
A high 6. Like I said, I think this is one of my top 20 all time. I could happily go back and read that again right now.
Amazing.
I think just the lunacy of the issues, and I think when I read issue 1, I was on the verge of, this is going to be pretty poor, and then it kind of back end of 1, and from then on to the end of 4, it was just like comedy genius. Whether intentional or not, I don't know. Maybe I'll give Michael Higgins the benefit of the doubt, and he was playing us all for fools in that this was a work of comedy. But I don't know. It's an 8 for me.
I would say that the most interesting parts of the comic revolve around Hawk and Barbara Larkin, and the reveal that the Baroness is involved with, Cobra's involved with Barb's, and then they assassinate her at the end. I mean, I was first of all the Baroness when I was like, oh cool, like she's not just a character just thrown in for the sake of it. There's actually a point here, and it kind of it's all entangled in this like interesting kind of power play, and then she gets assassinated. I was just like, whoa! Like, I mean, pretty obvious things nowadays. Like, that's the first thing you go to now. The first thing you expect with a character like this is that they're going to die in some way, shape, or form. But no, I really like that aspect of it. But in terms of the Transformers and G.I. Joe element, I don't know, just it didn't feel very, very good to me, very natural.
Fair. We will be covering all the other G.I. Joe Transformers crossovers as and when we get to them, and I will be hard-pressed to think there'll be a better one than this for me personally. But anyway, we shall see. Right now, though, I want to hear about toys, and you're the man.
Chris talks about toys, ho ho. Chris talks about G.I. Joe. He talks about all the things from the comic book and the animated show. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys.
Am I really?
Well, it's a vicious rumour.
Okay, so I've fast forwarded again into the 2000s, and we're going to start with 2011's SDCC exclusive Cobra Commander and Starscream Sky Striker. So I'm actually going to be talking about all of the SDCC exclusive figures. Excellent. Because they did a run that literally, like, the box art was the covers for what would have been 5, 6, 7, and 8 of this recurring Transformers G.I. Joe crossover. So picking up at the end of this issue we've just talked about.
Just very quickly, SDCC is what? San Diego Comic-Con?
San Diego Comic-Con,
okay,
yeah.
Right, fine.
Yeah, so they pick up from the last issue that we just covered, and the first, like, the box art is basically really cool. It's like done like a comic cover, and you've got Hawk up in the corner firing and with his fist up in the air. You've got issue 5 and SDCC written on it, and then you've got G.I. Joe and the Transformers logo. G.I. Joe and Transformers together in one awesome vehicle, and it's a big face picture of Starscream in the background, clouds all around it, and then the Sky Striker as Starscream being piloted by Cobra Commander, kind of like zooming out the front of the picture, and then there's another Sky Striker underneath it. The actual toy was wicked. It was a Sky Striker repainted, and it came with the decals for, making it Starscream, basically. So it has like this orange cockpit. It has the kind of off-white, kind of grey body colour scheme, and then obviously the kind of bluey tail fins and everything, and all the deco that you can put on it, Decepticon stickers and all the, just to make it like Starscream, effectively. The Cobra Commander figure that came with it was brilliant. It was effectively Cobra Commander's head on, I think, the Ace body that had just been out with the Sky Striker release. So that was really cool. And he also came with a mini Megatron gun, which was brilliant. So it was like a tiny little pistol accessory for the Cobra Commander, which was basically Megatron. So yeah, that was really awesome. Then following that, the second year in 2012, San Diego Comic-Con did it again, and this time they went with a Shockwave Hiss Tank, and it was the Hiss Tank, like the modern version that had again just been released around that time. Destro in like this really cool kind of get-up. He was basically using Dusty Cobra Trooper and the Techno Viper parts to make this Destro figure, and it looks amazing. So that was really cool. And also the coolest part about the whole set was the Battle Android Trooper, but in Constructicon colours.
Nice.
Which was just amazing. They called it the Constructicon Bat, and it's beautiful. And yeah, there was other really cool accessories with it as well, like a it was like this kind of little trolley that you could put like different, I think, Energon on it. But what they used were, back in the day, we had this mass device elements that were used from the G.I. Joe miniseries, and that was like the figure for it. So they just repainted that to make them look like Energon cubes, which was really awesome. Like, it was a really cool set again, and the cover was really nice again. The box art was another comic cover. Issue 6 had Snake Eyes this time in the top hand corner, saying the same things again, but then on the cover you've got Shockwave in the background, and then you've got the Hiss Tank bursting through again the front with Destro riding it, and all the Constructicon bats behind him. It's brilliant. Again, we started to get used to this, and in 2013 they did it again. It was another friggin' Sky Striker, but this time Jetfire. It was repainted as Jetfire. Nice. You added these other elements, that like this amazing kind of like drone section that kind of comes with it, that locks onto the back of the Sky Striker. And it's just, honestly, it's just brilliant. So we got a Jetfire and also Hound, which was a repainted Vamp. And the figures, we'd also got figures with the set as well, including the Baroness with Ravage on a leash, which is just amazing. Bludgeon, which was a repainted Budo figure, but with given like a skull face, which is again amazing. Snake Eyes version 66. I think we had green trousers, and obviously, like I said, Autobot Hound, which was a repainted Vamp. And I think we also got a little. Yeah, I tell a lie. I didn't tell a lie, but on the previous set you also got a mini Soundwave with cassettes, and in this one you got Blaster with cassettes. So they were really going overboard with the accessories on this one. So tiny little, tape decks basically that they repainted as Soundwave and Blaster. Beautiful. And then we had to wait then for about 3 years before we got the next installment. And I remember the news dropping on, I think it was one of the Chinese websites, I think it was Taobao or somewhere like that, leaked images of these vehicles coming out, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's got to be Powerglide, and it's got to be for the SDCC," and it did turn out to be Powerglide. A repainted Rattler in like that kind of burgundy, kind of reddy colour with the silver accents. Absolutely gorgeous repaint of the Rattler. It came with Pilot Scarlet in kind of like a, yellow and I think it was like a dark blue or black colour scheme. I can't remember off the top of my head, but she came with that. Also, we got another Hiss tank. This time it was a Hiss 2 repainted and retooled as Soundwave, which was pretty neat as well. So we also, and in that set was a Zartan version 23, and he was basically, I think, the Renegade Zartan, again redecoed a little bit. And yeah, so and that cover was pretty gorgeous as well. Having a look at that one, that was issue 8, and obviously had in the top left hand corner had Zartan and Soundwave, and you had Powerglide and Soundwave fighting in the background, like kind of in almost like a different scene, and then the two vehicles just shooting out the front again, all guns blazing. So yeah, so they finally completed that for the San Diego sets, and we got our full run of 8 issues, 8 box, kind of 4 box sets of G.I. Joe Transformers crossover vehicles. This was very, very cool, very awesome, and I'll be looking again at more Transformer G.I. Joe crossover stuff, because we have had a lot of it from the club mainly. In later episodes where we look at other crossover stuff.
Good stuff. Excellent. You own all those, I imagine?
I do, yes.
Of course.
I actually got one as a present from Daryl DePriest from Hasbro. Daryl DePriest and Mark Webber sent me 2 of them, believe it or not, because that's how they come shipped. They were boxed in shipping box of 2, so for retailers, and they sent me that as a present. Isn't that nice? I guess
they sound like they're pricey.
They were in the 100 range, I think, when they first came out, and they've probably crept up now on the secondary market. But for the most part, they weren't too bad when they first came out.
Okay, good stuff. More toys next episode. I won't say next week because we might have a week off, but next episode. In all our excitement, mainly my excitement to get to this series, we forgot to go inside Jeep's mind.
That's the weakest one you've ever done. It's really sick.
Yeah, I feel weak. I'm going to keep this brief. People who are playing table tennis at work.
Okay, you can stop there if you want.
No, because I want to play table tennis at work, and I rock up to the table and there's a couple of people playing. Me and whoever I've decided to give a whooping to this time out have come up to the table waiting to play, and they kind of look to see that we're there, so they acknowledge that we're waiting, so we're just chatting by the table, blah blah blah. They play, and then they finish a game, then they swap ends, they play again, then they swap ends, they play again, and then they swap ends, they play again. And I'm like, what do we have to do to get these off the table? Then eventually they kind of shrug their shoulders and go, "Oh, did you want to play?" We're like, why do you think we're standing there with bats in our hands, chump?
Wow.
Then off they go. So what I do is, when I'm on the table...
I take it you don't know everybody at work then?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know everyone at work, but apart from these idiots. But when I'm on the table playing, if I see someone come up to play, I'll say to them, we're in the first set, we're playing a best of 3, to give the guys an idea about how long they might have to wait or not wait. But anyway, there you go. That's it. Rant over. People who don't explain how long they're going to be.
That you can just put it down to just being polite and courteous, can't you? Really?
Exactly. But from inside my mind, we'll go to confusing people with my mind, because it's time for some British colloquialisms, aka over egging that pudding.
We got a pudding, we're gonna egg it. We got a pudding, we're gonna over egg it. We got a pudding, we got no criticisms. That means it's time for some British colloquialisms.
You go first this time.
No, you go first this time.
Okay, I'll go first this time. Okay. This one actually happened while I was playing table tennis against someone, and it's something
Is it the C word?
It's something I said to someone. I think they were 2-0 against me in a best of 5, and I came back to win 3-2, and I basically said, "Oh, mate, you bottled it."
Nice.
I don't know if that is a saying in the States. It could be another saying over here. If you bottle someone, that is obviously where you crack them over the head with a bottle, but to bottle it is to basically crumble. Or, as I say, another one actually I say to my general opponents is, "Oh, mate, you're Crumplestiltskin."
I say that all the time.
Crumplestiltskin, or I call him a buckle merchant. Yeah.
I noticed one that you actually used one earlier that you probably didn't realise, but when you said that you had the lurgy.
Oh, yes, yeah.
That's a British colloquialism.
Yeah. Lurgy, yeah, as in illness.
Being sick, yeah.
What have you got?
So my one is one that, again, I have used this recently, and again I got looks of like, what are you talking about? And it's the word nought. It's nought. One that my dad would use because he's obviously from Manchester originally.
Yep.
And it's a northern saying, and it just means nothing effectively.
Yeah. Nought.
It means the word nothing, not it doesn't mean anything. Yeah, so nought. There was also an advertising thing as an advert years ago where they would say with nought taken out, and I can't remember what it was for. Was it bread?
Yeah, it might have been Alison's bread.
Now here is a short recitation about a man who won fortune and fame by making a right special flour. Tom Allinson, that were his name. For just after the Industrial Revolution, all but he were for bread white as snow. They thought it were purer than wholemeal, but young Tom in a loud voice said, "No, long white bread's all right, that I'll grant you, but you've taken away some at clout. Wholemeal's better all told for young people, 'cause it's bread that's had nought taken out." And now, over 100 years later, it's been proved beyond reasonable doubt. 'Twere Tom Allinson's thoughts that were proper, and bread's better, we nought taken out.
Alison's bread, we're now taken out, yeah. So it was part of the Alison's advertising campaign, we're nought taken out, to basically say we don't take anything out of it, and obviously because they're from up north. That's mine, nought.
Couple of good ones that week.
Absolute stonkers, yeah.
We will close the show out, as we always do, with Chief Ask Chris a question. Chief Ask Chris a question. What'll he say? What'll he do when Chief Ask Chris a question? So we have witnessed here a G.I. Joe Transformers crossover.
Yes.
We have seen other G.I. Joe Transformers crossovers.
Yes.
What other licensed brand would you like to see G.I. Joe crossover with?
I always thought a really good fit for G.I. Joe would be, especially in a time where war is not like it's not looked upon like it was back in the 80s, for example. People, it's a little bit more kind of like a hot topic. Not sure many parents will want kids buying war toys, etc., etc.
Yep.
So I always thought like late, kind of a more modern aspect. They could introduce like Inhumanoids.
Inhumanoids, the evil that lies within. From down in the fiery depths of the earth where nightmares begin. Inhumanoids, the evil that lies within.
To G.I. Joe. Have you ever heard of Inhumanoids before?
Yes, yeah. Not that familiar, but aware of, yes.
So obviously, like big monsters, effectively. So they're, fighting that kind of that it becomes that becomes the angle that G.I. Joe utilised for. And obviously, they're in the same Sunbow universe. So, in terms of cartoons and stuff, it wouldn't have been beyond the Thunderdome to go with that. But I've always thought Inhumanoids made a really good crossover for G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe has been crossed over with a lot of things over the years, and I kind of just like the thought of them utilising the other in-house brands at Hasbro, or the brands that Hasbro used to have, because we did like a whole run of episodes from the Full Force called the Alternative Combined Universe, and also the Combined Universe, where we looked at like Mask. Obviously they've crossed over with Mask already, and Visionaries and Transformers and all that kind of stuff. So we looked at a lot of that stuff, and then just recently we've been looking at Cops and Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat and all the other stuff that they may have crossed over with, or is kind of in the same universe loosely, So I would love to see those kind of crossovers where, like Cops, Inhumanoids, Zoids, anything like that, where you know that there's some sort of kind of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon already attached to it.
Yeah. Cool. Good stuff. Still plenty of time for that to happen. Let's make it happen somehow. So, like we said, we will be taking a week off next week to recharge the batteries, refresh, replenish, etc.
You'll have a week, Cough, next time I see you, probably.
And we'll be back the following week doing a Action Force Monthly, aka European Missions special. We'll be covering, I think we're going to do the whole run, yeah?
Hell yeah.
All right, yep. So I think that's 16 issues possibly.
15.
So if 15 issues, that's what I said, 15 issues. And try and get hold of those issues if you can. I don't know how easy they are to get hold of, but if you want to read along, that's your best bet.
You can always go on Blood for the Baron and read them there.
They're on Blood for the Baron, are they?
Yeah, but then they're not separated as necessarily as comics. It's comic stories. Yeah,
so fine, that's perfect. Go to bloodforthebaron.com or .co.uk, wherever it is, and check that out. Great website. And then in the new year, we'll be back. A little bit of rebranding, a bit of jiggery-pokery, and we might even be on a new feed. So if you are a subscriber to the show, we hope you are. You might just need to resubscribe to a new feed, but we'll give you all the details you require in plenty of time for that. So,
well, not knowing you, it'll be the last second.
Yeah. Again, this week I came on the show and I said I'm ready, and then he plugged his headphones in, and I said actually I'm not ready. So you might get details at least a week later than you actually need them, but stick with us, spread the word. Where can the people find you, sir, if they want to get in touch with you?
You can find me, Diagnostic80, on Twitter and Instagram as Diagnostic80, and you can find the Full Force podcast on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Patreon.
Yeah, good stuff. You can get me on Cheapy2Shoes on Twitter. You can get this show on Talking_Joe on Twitter, Talking Joe Comics on Instagram, TalkingJoeComics@gmail.com, or Talking Joe, a G.I. Joe podcast on the Book of Face. And speaking of the email, we got another email from Sam Myers. We do have your No Prize. It is going to be in the post to you soon. And he actually was chatting to me on email about 2000 AD, because I've mentioned it and you've mentioned it a few times on the pod, and he wasn't even aware of it. So I gave him some recommendations of 2000 AD strips to read, and I actually forgot to include one of my all-time favourites, which is Nikolai Dante. So Sam, if you're listening, I know you are, check out Nikolai Dante. I think it's like an 11-volume trade series, and it is up there with the very best comics ever written, so check that out.
Shout out to Sam Myers as well. He's also a patron of the Full Force podcast, so big shout out to Sam.
Top man.
Very supportive.
Yeah. And with all that said and done, you can catch us down the road.
Cheerio!